She signed the divorce paper alone. No husband, not even goodbye. Outside, the cameras called her the woman who lost everything. Rain hammered against the courthouse steps as Amara Blake pressed her name on the final line. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from everything she refused to feel. Across the table, the lawyer slid the papers away like it was just another transaction. Julian Cross, her billionaire husband, hadn't even bothered to come. Through the glass doors, a blur of umbrellas and camera flashes waited. "Smile, Amara. How does it feel to lose a billionaire?" someone shouted. She kept walking, heels clicking against wet stone, mascara bleeding like war paint. They said she lost her man, her mansion, her place at the top, but deep down, Amara knew they were wrong. What she lost wasn't status, it was illusion, and what she carried now was something no headline could see. Sometimes losing everything is just the start of getting it all back. If you've ever rebuilt from ashes, stay with her story. The courthouse doors swung open, and rain swallowed Amara whole. It soaked through her coat, plastered her curls to her skin, blurred the city into gray. She didn't run. She walked slow, steady, like a woman leaving her own funeral. On the corner, a newsstand screamed in bright red letters, "Julian Cross marries Serena Voss, his late wife's best friend." The photo showed Julian's smile, Serena's hand on his chest, the same hand that once comforted Amara after her mother's funeral. Her chest tightened. The betrayal wasn't loud. It was surgical, neat, clean. Serena had taken her place at Julian's side, in her home, in her headlines. Amara whispered, "They didn't even wait a heartbeat." A car splashed past, soaking her legs, but she didn't flinch. Money, power, friendship, gone. All replaced by a headline that sold faster than sympathy. She pulled her hood tighter, ignoring the cameras still clicking. They wanted to see her break, but Amara Blake had learned one thing in this city. Tears don't move people, silence does. She stepped into the streetlight, rain running down her face like truth, and kept walking toward whatever was left of her life. By the next morning, Amara's face was everywhere. Talk shows, gossip blogs, breakfast radio. She had it all: beauty, money, status, and still lost. The hosts laughed between commercial breaks. Clips of her crying in the rain played on repeat, labeled "The Fall of the Perfect Wife." Even women who once praised her whispered now, maybe she deserved it. Amara sat in her apartment, blinds half closed, watching her own humiliation in high definition. The phone buzzed, texts from reporters, ex-clients, strangers offering pity disguised as curiosity. She turned the volume down, but the noise lived in her head. "They love to watch a woman fall," she murmured, voice flat. The mirror across the room caught her reflection. Tired eyes, trembling hands. A woman erased by a story she didn't write. On the counter sat her wedding ring, dull under the kitchen light. Once a symbol of empire, now a souvenir from a life that wasn't real. Amara reached for it, then stopped. Instead, she opened the window and let the morning air in. Sharp, cold, honest. The storm outside had ended, but inside her, it was just beginning. The taxi ride home was silent, except for the wiper's slow rhythm and the city breathing heavy in the rain. Amara clutched her purse, fingers brushing against the small paper bag she hadn't opened yet. At a red light, she tore it open. The test stick showed 2 pink lines. For a second, she couldn't breathe. "Oh, Lord," she whispered, hand pressed to her chest. Life. In the middle of all this ruin, life. Her mind spun. Julian didn't know. Serena surely didn't care. The world would call her reckless, desperate, foolish. But none of that mattered now. Inside her was the one thing money couldn't fake. Power couldn't buy. She leaned her head against the cold window, watching Atlanta's skyline fade into gray. "You picked the wrong woman to bury," she muttered. The cab driver glanced at her in the mirror but said nothing. Sometimes silence was the only kindness left. As the car turned toward her apartment, Amara's hand rested over her stomach. For the first time since signing her name, she felt something that almost resembled strength. Not hope yet, but the beginning of it. 3 days later, Amara stood in the airport terminal, a single suitcase beside her. Geneva, Switzerland, the farthest place she could find from Atlanta's noise. Her passport trembled in her hand. Every screen flashed her face. Every whisper carried her name. She tried not to look. When the intercom called, "Final boarding, Flight 47, she exhaled, ready to disappear. Then came a voice behind her, deep, calm, certain. "Mrs. Blake," it said. "Don't board that plane yet." She turned. A tall man in a charcoal coat stood there, rein still on his shoulders. His eyes were sharp, like someone used to seeing truth others ignored. He held out an envelope sealed with gold wax. "From Kane Quantum," he said quietly. "You need to see this before you go." Amara frowned, pulse quickening. "Who are you?" "Malcolm Reese," he replied. "Someone who thinks you deserve to know what really happened." For the first time in weeks, Amara didn't move. The gate agent repeated the final call, but her world had already stopped. The envelope felt heavy in Amara's hands. The gold wax cracked like an old scar. Malcolm's gaze stayed on her, unreadable. "Your ex never saw the paternity results," he said quietly. "Someone buried them." Amara blinked, unsure if she heard right. "Paternity?" Malcolm nodded once. 2 weeks before your divorce, a DNA test was filed under your name. It was canceled by someone inside Kane Quantum. The request came from Julian, but the void stamp didn't. Her throat tightened. "Who signed it?" He hesitated, then whispered, "SV. Serena Voss." The name hit her like cold metal. Her best friend. The woman who'd stood beside her at the altar, who'd toasted to forever. Amara's pulse thudded in her ears. "You're telling me she—" "I'm telling you," Malcolm said. "Someone didn't want the truth to exist." Overhead, the boarding gate called her name. Amara stared at the envelope, torn between running and knowing. Then, with a steady breath, she whispered, "I can't leave, not yet." Malcolm's eyes softened. "Good, because this isn't the end of the story. It's where it begins." Hours later, the jet sliced through storm clouds, leaving Atlanta behind. Amara sat by the window, her reflection pale against the glass. Her fingers traced her stomach without thinking. Snow greeted her in Geneva. Cold air, foreign language, silence. She didn't know why she came, only that staying meant being buried alive. At the clinic, Dr. Elise Marchand read through Amara's scans with careful eyes. "You're carrying twins," she said softly. "They share a single blood flow. It's rare and dangerous." Amara's breath caught. "Can they survive?" "With rest and monitoring," the doctor said. "Yes, but you must not let stress win." Tears threatened, but Amara blinked them back. She'd faced betrayal, headlines, and loss. She could face this too. That night, she lay in the hospital bed listening to the soft beep of machines. Snow fell outside like ash. For the first time, she realized she wasn't just running away. She was running toward something worth living for. The envelope waited on the nightstand, its seal already cracked. Amara opened it slowly, hands trembling. Inside lay a single photocopy. Julian's signature beside hers, a DNA request form marked "Void per SV." Serena Voss. Her breath hitched. The letters blurred through her tears. The woman she'd trusted had erased her child before it was even born. Mara scanned the next page. Corporate papers, patent transfers, clauses she once helped write. Her name scratched out, replaced by initials she didn't own. They hadn't just stolen her husband. They'd stolen her work, her identity. The truth wasn't just betrayal. It was extermination. Her heart pounded, fury mixing with grief. "So that's how you built your empire," she whispered, "on my silence." Outside, the snowstorm thickened. She pressed her palm against the window, feeling the glass vibrate with the wind. Somewhere across the ocean, Serena was smiling for cameras. But in Geneva, a different kind of storm was forming. Quiet, patient, unstoppable. Midnight draped Geneva in white. Amara stood by the window, the city lights distant and blurred. Her reflection looked like a ghost she no longer recognized. "You wanted me gone, Serena?" she murmured. "Fine." Her breath fogged the glass. "But I'll come back when you least expect." The twins kicked softly beneath her ribs as if answering. She placed her hand over them, whispering, "We'll make them remember who we are." Behind her, the monitor beeped steady, a rhythm of life and defiance. For the first time since Atlanta, she wasn't shaking. She was burning. She opened her laptop and began listing names: Julian Cross, Serena Voss, Kane Quantum. Each letter carved like a wound waiting to heal. Outside, snow swallowed the last traces of the day. Inside, Amara Blake, once the perfect wife, became something new. A woman with nothing left to lose. And that, she knew, was power. Morning light crept through the blinds. A nurse entered with a small parcel marked, "From New York." Amara frowned. She hadn't told anyone where she was. Inside the envelope was a flash drive and a note written in neat script. "I believe in justice. No name, no return address." Her heart raced. She plugged it into her laptop. The screen blinked to life, a grainy video of Serena Voss at a private party, whispering to Marcus Ames, her former PR fixer. Serena's voice, low and sharp. "If she's pregnant, we control the story. Handle it quietly. You'll get your bonus." Amara covered her mouth. Betrayal had a sound now. The video ended with Serena handing Marcus a small velvet pouch, the same kind the clinic used for DNA samples. Amara sat back, trembling but alive. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of what she'd find next. Truth was finally speaking, and it had chosen her voice to do it. The video replayed on the screen, Serena's voice sharp and clear. "If she's pregnant, control the narrative." Amara froze. Her fingers trembled on the keyboard. Each word carved a wound deeper than the last. Serena wasn't just cruel, she was calculating. This wasn't gossip, it was strategy. She copied the file and opened a secure email. "Danielle Cole," she whispered, typing the name of the one lawyer she still trusted. The subject line read, "Keep this safe." When the upload bar reached 100%, Amara finally exhaled. Her reflection in the laptop screen looked older, harder, but alive. She closed the computer and whispered to the quiet room, "You wanted to write my story, Serena. Let's see how you like the next chapter." Outside, the wind howled against the glass, but it sounded different now. Less like a warning, more like applause. Somewhere across the ocean, truth was already moving, one email at a time. The call came just after midnight. A distorted voice hissed through static. "Stop digging, or your children will never see daylight." Amara's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" The line clicked dead. Her chest tightened. She stumbled toward the bed, hand pressed to her belly. The monitor beside her blinked erratic. A nurse rushed in, shouting for help. "Heart rate's dropping." Dr. Elise appeared, calm but urgent. "We need to stabilize her, now." The room spun. Lights blurred into white streaks. Amara felt herself slipping, body heavy, air thin. She whispered to the twins, "Hold on, babies. Please hold on." Machines beeped faster, voices overlapping. Somewhere in the noise, she heard her own heartbeat fade into the rhythm of theirs. Weak, but still fighting. Then darkness. Light returned as a whisper. Beeping, the smell of antiseptic. Mara blinked through tears as Dr. Elise leaned over her, eyes soft. "They're fighters," she said gently. "Both of them. You're stable now." Amara let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. Her hands searched for her stomach, feeling the gentle thrum beneath the blanket. 2 lives still there, 2 reasons not to stop. She looked toward the window, dawn breaking over Geneva. For the first time in weeks, sunlight reached her face. "You scared us," the doctor added, smiling faintly. Amara managed a whisper. "They scare me too, but they also keep me breathing." The relief came slow, heavy as sleep. But beneath it, something stronger stirred. Not revenge, not yet. Resolve. Life had chosen her twice now. She wouldn't waste either chance. Days later, Amara sat upright in bed, a laptop balanced on her knees. The folder of evidence glowed on the screen. Emails, bank transfers, contracts, the video. Proof of a web Serena thought no one could untangle. She composed a new message. To Lena Ortiz, The Herald. Subject, The Truth About Serena Voss. Her fingers hovered for a moment. You wanted the perfect image, Serena, she murmured. Let's show them the price of perfection. She hit send. Outside, church bells rang through the city. Each chime felt like a countdown. She didn't know when the story would break or how the world would react, but she knew this. Silence had protected the guilty long enough. Amara closed the laptop and whispered to the quiet, I may be one woman, but I've got truth, and she's louder than fear. In New York, Serena Voss sat in her penthouse office, sunlight catching her diamond bracelet. She was mid-meeting when her assistant burst in, pale-faced. Ma'am, you need to see this. On the tablet, a leaked clip played. Her voice in the parking garage, whispering to Marcus Ames. Handle it quietly. You'll get your bonus. Her smile faltered. Where did this come from? No idea. It's spreading fast. Serena's chest tightened. Who filmed this? Marcus wasn't answering calls. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters, investors, Julian's office. The empire she built on image was cracking, live. She tried to steady her hands, but they shook anyway. For the first time, the Queen of Spin had no words to fix her story. Across the skyline, digital billboards glitched, her name flickering beside the word scandal. Serena Voss, once untouchable, finally understood what it felt like to be watched falling. Night pressed against the hospital windows when Amara woke to murmurs in the hallway. Two nurses whispered outside her door, their faces pale. One word cut through the air, intruder. Her heart pounded. She pressed the call button. A guard entered moments later, voice tight. Someone broke into the records room. Nothing taken yet, but we're moving you for safety. Amara's throat went dry. Who would come all the way here? The guard didn't answer. He helped her into a wheelchair, covering her with a blanket. The hall lights flickered as they rolled toward another wing. Every sound felt louder. The squeak of rubber wheels, the hum of the elevator, the steady pulse of her babies inside her. When the doors closed, she whispered, They know I'm alive. The guard met her eyes in the reflection. Then it's time to act like it. Somewhere down the corridor, a door slammed. Alarms began to wail, but by then, Amara was gone, hidden in a room with no windows and too many secrets. By morning, the storm had gone digital. Screens from Geneva to New York flashed the same headline. Julian Cross's ex-wife pregnant in Switzerland. Julian sat in his office, jaw tight. Who leaked this? He barked. No one answered. His assistant muttered, It's everywhere, sir. Trending #1. He stared at the photo. Amara in a hospital gown, snow falling outside the window. His pulse slowed. She's alive. Across the city, Serena's phone buzzed nonstop. She tried to post a statement, but comments flooded faster than she could delete. Homewrecker. Liar. Where's the baby? Julian shut his laptop. For the first time, doubt replaced pride. Serena's calm explanations, her perfect smiles, all of it suddenly looked rehearsed. He whispered to himself, what if she was telling the truth? Outside, reporters gathered beneath Kane Quantum's glass tower. Truth, it seemed, no longer needed permission. It had Wi-Fi. Julian dialed Serena's number. It rang once before she picked up, voice honey-sweet. Darling, what's with the panic? He didn't answer right away. Did you alter the test? A pause. Then laughter. Thin. Sharp. You're tired, love. Don't let gossip drive you crazy. Julian's hand tightened around the phone. Answer me, Serena. Her tone cooled. You think I'd risk everything for a rumor? That's not an answer. For a long second, there was only silence. He could almost hear her smile fading. Julian, don't forget who saved your reputation. He looked out over Manhattan, lights flickering like truth beneath glass. Maybe I should have asked who ruined hers. Before she could respond, he ended the call. The click echoed in the room like a verdict. For the first time, Julian Cross felt the weight of his own blindness and the cost of believing the wrong woman. That night, Amara sat propped against white pillows, a notebook open on her lap. Her hands trembled, but the words came steady. "My loves," she wrote, "the world called me a scandal, but truth doesn't need permission. It only needs patience." She paused, listening to the slow rhythm of her heartbeat against two smaller ones. "People will tell you power means money, and love means control. Don't believe them. Power is peace. Love is freedom." Her pen slipped as a tear landed on the page. "I may not know what tomorrow brings, but I know you are my tomorrow, and I'll keep fighting until you can open your eyes and see a world that won't lie about your mother." She closed the notebook, pressing it to her chest. "You'll read this someday," she whispered, "and know I never stopped choosing you." Outside, the wind howled like applause. The hallway was silent again when Amara noticed a shadow under her door. It didn't move. She sat up slowly. "Hello?" No answer. The handle turned once, twice, then stopped. She reached for the call button, but it didn't light. Power outage. Her stomach clenched. Footsteps shifted outside. A man's silhouette passed across the frosted glass, tall, deliberate. He paused as if listening to her breathe. "Who's there?" she whispered. No reply. Then a faint scrape, metal against lock. Amara's pulse thundered. She slid off the bed, pulling the monitor wires free. The babies kicked hard, sensing her fear. The door rattled again, then a final click, locked from the outside. Her breath fogged in the dim light. She pressed both hands to her stomach. "Not tonight," she whispered. "You won't take us tonight." The silence broke. A faint sound beyond the wall, the promise of help or danger. She didn't know which, only that she had to survive long enough to find out. The door burst open just as Amara's strength gave out. Flashlights cut through the dark. "It's okay, Mrs. Blake. You're safe now." Dr. Elise's voice carried calm authority. Guards swept the hall. The intruder was gone. Amara sagged against the doctor's shoulder, tears hot and silent. Elise held her steady. "They won't reach you again," she said softly. Later, in the quiet of the recovery ward, a courier from the U.S. consulate delivered a sealed envelope. Inside was her old wedding ring. Only the diamond was gone, replaced by a small golden star. A note read, "You don't owe him the past. You owe yourself a future." Amara traced the star with her fingertip. For the first time, the ring didn't feel heavy. It felt like a compass pointing somewhere new. She looked to Dr. Elise and whispered, "Thank you for saving us." The doctor smiled. "You did the hard part. You stayed alive." Amara slipped the ring into her palm. "Then I promise I'll keep doing that." And the next morning, Malcolm Reese appeared in the hospital garden, coat dusted with snow. "You're a hard woman to find," he said. Amara smiled faintly. "I've had practice hiding." He handed her a file. "They stole your algorithm, your name, your research. Kane Quantum rebranded it under Serena's department." Amara flipped through the pages, disbelief turning to anger. "They sold my idea?" "They built their fortune on it," Malcolm said. "Your code predicts human behavior in digital ads. Without it, they're nothing." Amara closed the folder. "Then I'll take it back, not for revenge." She looked toward the snowy skyline. "For legacy." Malcolm's eyes softened. "That's the Amara I read about. The woman who made data feel like art." "Then it's time she came back," Amara replied. For the first time, her voice didn't shake. Julian Cross arrived in Geneva 2 days later. The media had already found him, their cameras chasing his silence through the terminal. He didn't care. When he reached Amara's room, she didn't look up right away. The air between them was thick with everything unsaid. "I saw the reports," he began. "If they're mine, I'll fix this." Amara's eyes met his. "Start with the truth." Julian swallowed hard. "I thought Serena wanted to help us. She said you— She said what she needed to say, Amara cut in, voice calm but sharp. You believed her because it was easier than believing me. He nodded, guilt written on every line of his face. I was wrong. For a heartbeat, they stood in silence. The twins kicked once, and Amara's hand instinctively moved to her belly. Julian's gaze followed. Are they— They're fighters, she said quietly. Unlike us. And for the first time, Julian didn't argue. 2 mornings later, the knock came. Sharp, persistent. Amara opened the door to see Serena Voss standing there, cameras behind her, face painted with sympathy. Amara, darling, Serena said smoothly. I came to clear the air, for the public. Amara said nothing. Behind her, journalist Lena Ortiz adjusted a small lapel camera, silent witness to every word. Serena stepped closer, lowering her voice. You don't have to make this ugly. We can settle quietly. Amara's eyes didn't waver. Quiet is what you wanted when you buried the truth. Serena's smile faltered. You're emotional. No, Amara said, tone steady. I'm awake. Lena caught every second, the smirk fading, the mask cracking. When Serena realized the red light blinking on the camera, it was too late. The woman who once controlled every narrative had just lost hers on film. By afternoon, headlines flooded every platform. PR queen faces medical fraud allegations. Serena's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Investors demanded statements. Talk shows replayed the video of her confrontation with Amara. Hashtags multiplied like wildfire. #justice, for Amara, and #Voss exposed. No, this isn't happening, Serena shouted, hurling her phone across the room. But it was happening. Live, global, unstoppable. The same cameras that once adored her were now dissecting every word, every gesture. Julian watched the chaos unfold from his hotel room, the truth finally undeniable. He closed the TV, whispering, She warned me. In Geneva, Amara scrolled through the headlines quietly. The world had turned, not because she screamed, but because she refused to disappear. The storm outside mirrored the one she'd survived. Loud, messy, cleansing. And this time, she wasn't the one being washed away. The night air carried the sharp scent of snow and smoke. Amara woke to a soft crackle, then the hiss of flames crawling under her door. The alarm shrieked through the apartment. Dr. Elise burst in, shouting, Fire! Get up! Amara grabbed the file beside her bed, the evidence, the ring, the ultrasound photo, and followed the doctor through the haze. Heat pressed against her back as the hallway filled with smoke. A figure darted at the end of the corridor, face hidden beneath a hood. Elise, this way, she coughed, covering her mouth. The stairwell glowed orange below them. They stumbled down, flames chasing their heels. A nurse pulled them outside just as the upper floors exploded in a shower of sparks. The cold air bit her skin. Amara collapsed to her knees, clutching her belly. The babies kicked once, alive. Dr. Elise knelt beside her, voice trembling. Someone wanted you gone. Amara's eyes lifted to the burning windows. Then they'll see how hard I am to kill. The building blazed behind her, but she didn't look away. The fire hadn't destroyed her, it had baptized her. Morning brought headlines hotter than the flames. Lena Ortiz had published the Saint-Tropez deception. Names, documents, video links, it was all there. The story went viral in minutes. Serena Voss, PR queen turned villain. Kane Quantum accused of data theft, fraud, and cover-ups. And Julian Cross, complicit by silence. Amara read it once, twice, then closed the laptop. Her hands shook, but not from fear. It was the weight of release. Across the Atlantic, Julian stood before a crowd of reporters. Cameras flashed as he took a breath. I failed her, he said quietly. I failed us. The words spread faster than the fire ever did. For the first time, he wasn't defending himself. He was confessing. Serena vanished from the public eye. Her company's stock plummeted. Justice, it seemed, no longer belonged to lawyers. It belonged to truth. Amara sat by the hospital window, eyes on the gray sky. Snow began to fall again, soft and endless. This time, it didn't look like ash. It looked like peace. Months later, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Cameras lined the aisles, but the air felt sacred, like everyone knew history was being rewritten. Amara Blake took the stand first. Her voice was calm, her words precise. They erased my name from my own work. They took my motherhood, my dignity, and tried to bury both. Julian sat nearby, eyes down, waiting for his turn. When he finally rose, he looked at her before speaking. Everything she said is true. I let greed blind me. I thought silence would keep me safe. It only made me guilty. Across the room, Serena Voss sat pale, lips pressed tight. When the verdict came, guilty of fraud, bribery, and attempted harm, she didn't cry. She only stared at Amara, the woman she couldn't destroy. Outside, the crowd erupted in applause. Reporters shouted her name, but Amara didn't smile. She simply exhaled, as if setting down a weight carried too long. Justice wasn't loud. It was steady. And today, it finally had a voice. Months passed. The world moved on, but Amara didn't chase the noise. Julian Cross resigned, donating half his wealth to the Blake Foundation for Women in Tech, a dream that began on her kitchen table years ago. Amara now led it, helping women reclaim ideas stolen by others. Reporters called her the comeback queen, but she didn't see it that way. She saw herself as proof that truth, once freed, builds something stronger than power. In her home outside Geneva, sunlight spilled across two small cribs. River and rain stirred, tiny hands stretching toward her. She smiled softly. "We made it, my loves." Julian visited sometimes, quiet, remorseful, no longer the man of empires, just a father learning humility. Amara didn't promise forgiveness, only peace. Each morning she opened the window to let the light in. Not all endings burn, some simply rise. Amara stood by the same window, years later. Snow melted on the ledge, replaced by spring sun. She held a cup of tea and whispered to the reflection in the glass, "They tried to erase me, but I rewrote myself." Behind her, the twins laughed, chasing each other across the floor. Their joy filled the house once haunted by silence. She smiled, not at victory, but at peace. "Strength isn't revenge," she murmured. "It's living the truth when no one believed you had one." Her phone buzzed, a message from a young woman she'd mentored. "Because of you, I didn't give up." Amara typed back, "Never let them write your ending." She turned toward the light. "If her story touched your heart," she whispered, "share it with someone who needs to remember. You can lose everything and still rise again." Outside, the wind carried her words beyond the hills of Geneva, where survival wasn't a secret anymore. It was her legacy.